Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 26th meeting of the Law Committee. Thank you all for being here. Have you had a chance to review the minutes from the prior meeting?
I'll move the document.
Second.
And the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. If you don't mind, I'd like to take some things out of order to try to help things move along this evening. I have a motion to take things out of order. I'd like to start with item 21 on the agenda.
Do you need to do it?
Don't need one?
No.
All right, let's just start with item 21. Authorizing the acceptance of grant funding for New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee regarding the highway safety program.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am here today to request authorization to accept funds from the Governor's Traffic Safety Program for the Traffic Safety Resource Prosecutor Grant. This is a grant application that we submit to the Governor's Traffic Safety Board, and there's 2 in every state. And the purpose of these positions is to bring best practices from around the country and around the state to Albany County to ensure that we are keeping the roads in Albany County as safe as possible.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Bergdorf.
How do you spend the $131,000? Is it multiple prosecutors? Is it in town courts, city courts, or county level? What do you do?
Most of it is spent on the bureau chief of our vehicular crimes unit, Mary Tanner Richter, and there's also a portion of it that is spent on an assistant, so it supports staff and the prosecutor. There's a very small portion that's spent on travel and training as well, because she does attend conferences in and out of state. Any out-of-state travel does have to be pre-approved by the Governor's Traffic Safety Board, and then the other funds are used for travel within New York State.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
I'll move it.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Touche. All in, need to abstain. Okay, please, and all in favor?
Aye.
No abstention. Pass it. Thank you very much. Board of Elections here? Anyone here from Board of Elections yet? No? All right, we will hold off on that item yet. I'd like to invite Mr. Miller for items 20 and 24 so that we can address local law E. I believe you had some recent amendments, Mr. Miller?
That's correct. The amendments are included in the agenda package under item number 20. Basically, what we're doing is we're exempting pipe tobacco, premium cigars, and hookah bars from the flavored regulations, the banned flavored. The rest of the law basically remains the same.
All right.
Number 20, I'd like to table pending public hearing, and number 24, I'd like to move it to public hearing.
All right, so on item 24, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank
Move
you.
it.
And a
Second.
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
going to put the
Bergdorf.
date in there, September,
Oh, sorry, motion to amend item 24 to reflect the new date.
Which is September 24th.
September 24th for the next public hearing.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Feeney, a second. On the motion to amend the date, Mr. Touche, thank you. All in favor to amend the date?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And now, motion on the resolution as amended for the public hearing on September 24th. Thank you, Mr. Feeney and Mr. Bergdorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Miller. I'd like to recognize your cheering section over on the side here. They have quite the turnout with some great signs. We came up in the elevator together, and they seem like a nice, dedicated group. So thank you for being here. It's fun to have you here. Okay, so Ms. Ziegler here for item 32.
Thank you so much.
32.
Welcome,
Ms. Ziegler. Would you
Thank
like
you.
to-
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for your time and consideration. On number 32, this would be a renewal of our current New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services STOP grant, Stop Violence Against Women. We've had this grant for a number of years. We coordinate with both the DA's office and the Sheriff's Department on really addressing violence against women. It could be stalking, domestic violence, dating violence, strangulation. So these primarily it's to support our DV specialist in Albany Police Court. We're also looking to Colony and Guilderland, where we also have unfortunately a significant number of DV cases. We have a prosecutor as a victim specialist at the DA's office, and then the pre-coordinator at the jail, because one of the efforts under this is also the Prevention of Rape Elimination Act, which is eliminating sexual assaults while folks are incarcerated.
Any questions, Mr. Tucci?
Thank you. I noticed the funding is 75% federal, 25% county. Is that correct?
There is a match on this, yes. So it just comes out of fringe primarily. So
Is
this,
that included in the budget that we're currently under this year?
absolutely,
So it's all, we've already approved the money
yes.
for the match?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions on item 32? May I have a motion? Mr. Feeney, thank you. Mr. Touche, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. And
Thank
item
you.
35.
Thank you, sir. This is our Homeless Victim Services Grant. Last month when we met, that was just to accept the award. I would love to be able to fill those two new positions. One is a child clinician, and we're looking to even build our stronger bridge with our CAC. We have our volunteer coordinator who is their family advocate, so we have one co-position at the CAC. I'd love to have a child clinician co-located at the CAC. They serve a lot of families, a lot of young children, and I think for the convenience of the families, having a co-located clinician at the CAC makes a lot of sense. They're going down there for a number of reasons, and I think that it would really benefit our community to have a new child clinician at the CAC. The second position I'd like to fund is one more caseworker. Of the 14 courts in Albany, we have 6 that are outlying courts, the hill towns, and those arraignments right now we get pouched to us. I would like to have a presence at those courts on a monthly basis. I'd like to do more with Access Hill Towns so that they know that they're very much appreciated and these services are available to them just as much as every other resident in Albany County.
Thank you, Mr. Touche.
Mr. Kraus.
Sorry, Kraus.
That's all right.
I know that.
I would not mind being associated with this.
Sit next to each other. Sorry.
To me, this is a no-brainer. I think it's a worthy cause. Not only that, we're not paying for any of it.
Exactly, exactly.
So I would make a motion that we adopt this.
Thank you, Mr. Kraus.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Feeney. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Ms. Vicky. Mr. Connors, number 33.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to appear tonight. This is to provide some additional funds for the probation department in the form of overtime from the Albany County Sheriff's Department Stop DVI program. So probation officers partner with the Sheriff's Department at victim impact panels that are held 4 times a year, assisting them and checking probationers that attend the program. Many of the probationers are required either not to drive or to have specific equipment installed in their vehicles in the form of interlock, and we assist them doing that.
Good. Any questions? May I have a motion?
I'll
Mr.
move
Feeney.
it.
Thank you. Second by Mr. Bergdorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you very much for being here. All right, let's do that then. And we'll need to enter executive session for item 36 to discuss confidential matters. And thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Motion for that. Thank you, Mr. Feeney. Thank you, Mr. Bergdorf, for seconding. All in favor of it going
Aye.
into executive session?
Aye.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. Okay. All right. All right. We'll take a quick break. Anyone who's not on the committee, if you could please leave the room. All right, I'll just call the room to order briefly so we can get back on track here. During executive session, we did hear from Mr. Lynch, and we are ready for a motion on item 36.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Mr. Feeney.
Seconded.
Thank you, Mr. Bergdorf, for a second. All in favor of moving this with a favorable recommendation, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Goldstein. Back to number 1. Okay, being tabled. Items 2 to 11 are being tabled. Item 12. All right. Item 13, Mr. Drake.
Oh, we're up now? Okay. This is term limits, right? 13. Very good. Okay. Looking to move this one forward to a vote, to the floor. Made a couple of changes. Removing the municipal home rule law, which would require a referendum. Having examined it with the councils, it appears we can remove that. Made some changes in here as underlined, but those were previously, I'm sorry, forgive me. Those are the changes to the charter that are being proposed. I think this has been talked about a couple of times. Are there any questions on this one?
Could I point one item out? The version that is in the agenda, evidently through oversight, probably 2 months ago, we handed out a revised version.
Yeah, this is the
And the difference is that section 5 that you have in your packets has an indication that it will go to referendum. That was removed, so I had conversation with Mr. Canizero about that. So the text is all the same, but there is no referendum. We tried to print an extra copy because through Majority's office, for whatever reason, it didn't make it in here. We tried to print extra copies on our machine this evening, and it decided to go on maintenance. So if you take a look at item 13, just again, section 5, the paragraph dealing with that it's going to go to referendum, that has been removed because it will not affect any legislator that's in office. Basically, this will only affect legislators that come in the future, not anybody who's currently or other elected officials. So it's only for those elected after January 1, 2020. Those taking office after January 1, 2020.
So are you saying that everyone else is grandfathered in?
There is no grandfather because everybody starts new.
What it means
It does
is,
affect
I think
There
more
is no
succinct,
grandfather.
I think what you mean to say, and forgive me, I think what he means to say is this term doesn't count. I think
No,
is what he
but
means
no,
to say.
the key is, the effective date is January 1, 2020. So
Right.
there is no grandfathering.
So everybody that's reelected.
Because everybody's
Start
reelected.
over.
Starts over.
Yeah.
And number 2, the referendum, there is no referendum because we took that out. It's that particular version through the 2 offices, majority and minority, just
Right.
for
Somehow,
whatever
that
reason,
was
it's not
removed
in.
the last time we talked, yeah.
It was taken out like 2 months ago. Three terms, that's correct. So it's 3 terms for everybody starting in 2020.
So the term we're serving now does
Does not
Does not
count.
count, no.
Does not count.
That's an amendment that you made, or?
So anybody in the room has 4 terms
No,
or more.
it's just effective
Depending on
January
who you are.
1st. So the
So if this
legis,
passes, anyone who's here would have
3 terms.
3 terms starting January 1st.
Yep.
That's right.
So this
So
isn't
some
the
people could
language anyway. This
potentially
is
serve
the language.
12 terms.
It
if
is
they've been
the
here for a long time.
Correct. Yep.
Right, the language is the same except for that referendum. We deleted that 2 months ago, and for, again, whatever, between the 2 offices, it's just not showing up in your version.
The correct, I'll make a motion to table it.
There's a motion to table.
You know, until we get the correct version.
Well, the correct version was provided to the majority's office 2 months ago.
So we don't have any record in our emails on
I
that,
do.
whether or not, well, so I haven't seen it, and there's been multiple other instances where there's been claim these things have been given to us, and it turns out they haven't. There's at least 2 or 3 in the past 2
It
months.
sounds like there's a
where that's
systemic issue then.
happened. Systemic
second the motion.
of not being
Yeah, I
provided,
think we have
correct?
to move
That's
on.
correct.
Go forward on the motion.
Well, let me just, if there is some basis that these changes were submitted, okay, several months ago, okay? If you table it, I mean, he's basically told you, this last paragraph comes out, okay? So there's no new language to add. It's just, it's not subject to permissive referendum. So if the committee tables it, my assumption is they know that this comes out, and next month, if the committee continues to table it, it goes to the floor, right?
But we can't table it.
Well, it wouldn't be able to be tabled by committee again. So next month, Mr. Drake would have a right to move it out.
Move it
There's no
out.
ability to table it again.
Okay, so if we table it,
It can come out in the next committee.
Can Mr. Drake table it, or can it be tabled?
He could do either, I
And
mean.
Well, without, I mean, wouldn't it be, what if he said, let's amend this version right now,
Mhm.
and then create the record that what we have is the official version?
That's
So
another-
there's no discussion of it having been submitted, because we have, as a committee, took action on it. So at the next committee meeting, what would be printed, which would not include 5, would be the official document. There'd be no question as to whether or not it would have been submitted.
Right, so if you went that route, you would amend it now, and it would move to the floor as amended here. That would be the way, I mean, that's another procedural way you could go. You could make a motion to amend it, to be consistent with what's being represented was already provided, and that is another possibility.
So,
But I just, the one thing I would not like to see happen, I think everybody, regardless of whether you agree with something or not, at a certain point, it gets to go to the floor. What I would hate to be in a position is that we do something because these words are here today and come back next month with something that doesn't have these words and say, well, this is the first time we're seeing it, and now it gets tabled again, so it doesn't go out until October.
well, you wouldn't do that if you amended it here. Then it would go to the floor.
As amended.
As amended in September.
But we can only table it once.
Well, the committee has the right to
To
table
table
it
it.
by committee if that's their prerogative of what they want to do tonight. That's always an option.
Right, but we couldn't table it by committee again next month,
Not if you tabled it.
this month. Right.
If Mr. Drake were to table it on his own tonight, then next month the committee could table it by committee if that was something that came up and was the desire of the committee to do. But that's a separate issue from what Mr. Kraus is
Right.
raising.
Just another option.
Madam Chair.
Drake.
Another option might be to have a post-public forum committee to verify that everyone understands the amended or changed version previously.
I mean, that could be another option.
If that was necessary, council is advising us that, you know, they don't have record or what have you. So I'm just looking at different options like that have been put forward so far. So, you know, kind of putting myself at the committee's mercy here as to who thinks is an appropriate way.
But in that
We wanna do
instance,
it the
Mr.
right-
Drake, you'd have to table it, and then the committee would have, the chair would have to call a post-public forum meeting after the fact. So you'd have to table it, or, you know, it would have to be tabled in some way tonight for a post-public forum to be called for it to be voted on.
But how do we know that we're gonna call the post-public forum?
I mean, I can't.
That's up to the
my
chair.
decision.
No. Well,
But my question, if the committee tables this tonight,
Yes.
does Mr. Drake, do we start at square one with, well, now you have to submit this as amended to the
We-
committee, or?
We have to have the version at some point given to us. If it was given to us 2 months ago in a handout, I don't have a record of it. I don't have a record in my email, and, you know, so.
What if that were to be located for you? It was handed out in April, go to the video, it was handed out paper copies, and there's an email from April 26th, I believe?
Yeah. Okay, so that's something that I can't verify right now, so we'd have to get it after we do something here tonight.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I could, from a practical perspective, the committee is, all these committees are also places where you should be able to make some modifications, literally around the table. So as Councilman Bergdorf indicated,
Yep.
this is a situation where the paragraph, which pertains strictly to referendums, has been allegedly deleted, but even if it wasn't, today, if the committee said, we agree that should be deleted, I would think you could move this forward favorably or unfavorably, but at least get it to the floor as amended.
And then what we'll do with it.
That was my
Can't-
comment.
That's what Mr.
Can't the
Kraus
sponsor
brought
just
up.
amend it tonight?
Well, first, I'll withdraw my motion to table it, okay? So if you want to amend it,
Thank you.
then you're removing that paragraph down there, everything except this local law shall not become effective until January 1st, 2020. Everything else is being removed on us.
Correct, sir.
So we would be asked, someone could try to move it out as amended.
I thought this was the thing you're always complaining about, that we don't have the final version of things.
Well, I think the problem is that we supplied the final
Well, nonetheless, we don't
version.
have the final
Well-
version, so.
All right, well, just kind of getting down to brass tacks.
I mean, I'm supportive of being flexible like that, but I just want to make it known that I've gotten lots of input about this isn't the final version and yada, yada, yada. And, you know, we're right here, right now. Just want to make sure everyone realizes that.
Well, and I would agree if it were, you know, red line throughout and so on and so forth, I think that would be confusing for the committee. But in this
Well,
case, it
that's one
seems to be
issue.
rather, you could kind of put your hand over it and say, here's the version, so.
Yeah, and we're hoping that that's the
You know,
version.
as amended
There's
might
nothing
be
else, and
Easy to swallow.
I think I can channel kind of things that were said into my circumstance, but
Duly noted. Understood.
thank you.
Mr. Drake, are you making an amendment to change this tonight?
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to strike the last paragraph of section 5 effective date, starting with pursuant to sections 23 and 33, to strike that entire paragraph.
So is that a motion?
Well, I can't make a motion, but I'm making an amendment to you.
Is there a motion to accept this as amended?
Is there, so you have to make a motion to amend it to reflect what Mr.
I'd like to make a motion to what he said.
Right, to strike
Thank you,
that
Mr.
last
Burns.
paragraph.
Second that.
Okay.
So you have a second,
Thank you, Mr. Kraus.
and now you need a motion on the item as amended.
We have
Or,
to-
excuse me.
we have to vote on it,
vote
yeah.
on the item as amended.
All right, all in favor of the item as amended? Is this with recommendation or without recommendation?
No, this is just to
Just to
amend.
This is just to
amend.
amend. All in favor of the motion to amend?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now,
Now you need a motion to move it out.
yeah. Is there a motion to move this out? Mr. Feeney, what's your motion?
Without recommendation.
Without recommendation. And a second, Mr. Kraus, all in favor of moving it out without recommendation?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Unanimous, thank you, Mr. Drake.
It's out. Yeah, is that up?
14 is tabled, 14 to 16 are tabled. 17 is tabled, 18 is tabled, 19 and 20 are, 19 is, yeah,
19's
tabled, 20 is already tabled, 22 is tabled.
I'm sorry, 16, 17,
Yeah, what
and
about
18?
16?
Those are tabled.
16, 17, and 18?
Yep, 16, 17, and unless Ms. Cunningham wants to make a comment on 18.
No, the only thing is we have another public hearing coming up, and I made amendments to both of these local law D and F, reflective of the last public hearing. And I took most of the comments that we heard, and this is the result.
And we're doing another public hearing on that?
Yep.
And is that language in here, Joanne?
Yep, it's all in
Thank
here.
you.
Yep.
Kind of ironic how that works.
Item 23, a public hearing for
on
local
public
law
hearing.
D.
Amendment.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Mr. Feeney, a second.
No, we already reported the public hearing.
No, I'll tell you later.
Need a second.
Can I second?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll second it, Mr. Feeney, for item 23. All in favor of item 23, moving?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Item 24, we did. 25, public hearing on local law F.
Move it.
Thank you, Mr. Feeney, a second. Thank you, Mr. Kraus. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 26,
What are the dates for those?
September.
They're all, nope, they're all correct, September 24th.
September 24th.
Yeah.
Okay, item
Get
26.
your popcorn now.
Public hearing for proposed local law G.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Mr. Feeney. Second, Mr. Touche. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Item 27. This is an amendment to the ethics law. Oh, sorry, public hearing on amendment to the ethics law.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Mr. Feeney. I'll second this. Yeah, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 28. Mr. Dix.
Yes, I'm just trying to get to it in this lengthy.
Public hearing.
It's the public hearing.
Oh, so I don't really need it. Okay, it's a public hearing. There was a question on dates. Is that still valid? Do you have a date?
28, if you're going to try to move it forward, we need to amend the date.
All right.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to amend the date to be September 26th?
I'll move that.
Thank you. Mr.
September, September 26th is the Thursday,
24th.
right?
Sorry
24th.
to come back on Wednesday.
So is that a night of, that's gonna be a really busy night.
Yep.
Whopping public.
Can I have a second on the motion for public hearing? Thank you, Mr. Bergdorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Bring it
And
up.
so now,
I'll make a motion to
thank you,
move
Mr.
it.
Feeney. And a second. I'll throw my hand up. Second. To move it forward. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
29 is table pending the public hearing. Thank you. Item 30,
Same thing.
local law. We're tabling those two? All right.
Yep, those are tabled, pending the public hearing.
Okay, and 31. Table pending public hearing. And we are done. We have a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry. 34, it looks like the Board of Elections is not here for it. This is something we do every year. We certify the election expenses. The reason I'm speaking on it is because we have to do it before October 1st. So, without fully speaking for them, that's basically what's going on here.
All right, so we gotta move that?
Yep, you can do it. It's your problem.
I'll second.
All in favor?
The chargeback stuff.
A motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all.